Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. On the first day of the week, 2 of the disciples were going to a village called Emmaus, about 11 kilometers from Jerusalem, and talking with each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And Jesus said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while you're walking along?" They stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, named Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place there in these days?" Jesus said, "What things?" They replied, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was the prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and leaders handed him over to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and beside all this, it is now the third day since these things took place. Moreover, some women of our group astonished us. They were at the tomb early this morning, and when they did not find his body there, they came back and told us that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who said that Jesus was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see Jesus." Then Jesus said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart, to believe all the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, Jesus interpreted for them the things about himself and all the scriptures. As they came near the village to which they were going, Jesus walked ahead as if he was going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it's almost evening, and the day is now nearly over." So Jesus went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized Jesus, and he vanished from their sight. The 2 disciples said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures for us?" Same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions gathered together, and these were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Then the 2 disciples told what had happened to them on the road, and how the Lord had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
The early Christian community had great difficulty coming to terms with the reality of the resurrection. They had heard the experiences of Mary Magdalene and the other disciples meeting Jesus alive after his death, and it was through these experiences that they too came to accept Jesus' resurrection. But it was a very gradual realization. But for others who had not had such experiences, like ourselves, how can we relate to the experiences of the disciples to help us also be transformed by the resurrection event? And this is the problem addressed in the story we've just heard about the disciples on the way to Emmaus. They were men who previously had first-hand experience of Jesus. They had heard him speak and watched him engaging with people, healing them and giving them hope for a bright new future. But with Jesus' death, believing that the show was over, they were desolate. They had lost their faith in Jesus, no longer expecting anything from him, that Jesus' event had for them all been an illusion. But in the story we hear that Jesus had been following them without being noticed. How often he does that. And he catches up with them and walks with them, listening to their story and respecting their experiences. He encouraged them to talk about what they knew about Jesus and what they had expected. Then he gradually filled in the gaps in their understanding and took them to a new level of understanding. Even still, they did not recognize him. But as he spoke, we are told that their hearts began to burn within them. Knowledge went to the heart. Jesus was leading them from feelings of pain and loss and shattered dreams to a deeper understanding of salvation. He showed them that suffering and death is not an end, but must precede the joy of resurrection. Captivated by this new companion, as the group approaches Emmaus, the two disciples constrain the stranger to be their guest. They were good chaps. Once inside, however, a reversal took place. They who had offered hospitality find themselves guests at the table that he provides. As the stranger breaks bread, their eyes were opened, and they recognized him as Jesus, the risen Lord. And of course, we understand that this is a reference to the Eucharist. Instantly, Jesus vanishes from their sight, but instead of being sad and reflecting upon their experience, they return straight away to Jerusalem to share with others what had happened to them on the road and at the meal. They had been filled with joy and a renewed hope, and that joy was overflowing. They had to share it, as we all do when we are happy. These are two experiences for us to take away from this story. The first one, namely, to feel our hearts burning on hearing Jesus' message in the Scriptures, on learning about his deeds and his whole life, and especially the meaning of his suffering and death. And two, that when we celebrate the Eucharist, to feel that he nourishes us, strengthens us, and comforts us. In this way, faith in the risen Christ will grow. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Are you people at the back of the church able to hear my voice? Thank you. As you know, Tuesday is our Anzac Day. We are very fortunate here today in our congregation that we have time for a small reflection. Anzac Day is that day where we Australians pause. We reflect, we give thanks, and we remember for those who gave the ultimate with their lives to protect our way of life, our freedom, speech, and most important, our freedom of religion. With that in mind, I would ask all of you who are able, would you please stand for a verse from the Ode and the last post. They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning we will remember them, lest we forget. Please be seated.